and nothing teaches like a good example. So we've also been talking about consistency in routines and using symbols and how to make sure that you've made the right choice and when and how to use symbols. Do you have any examples about that?
Yes, so I've had some teams that I worked with in the past where when we were transitioning a child from Part B to Part C, we had set up what we believed to be really awesome schedules with objects that represented key transitions in the child's day. And what we have found that sometimes gets confused is when the child's transitioning from Part B to Part C, or from classroom to classroom, or provider to provider, sometimes they were associating the symbol that they were using for a particular activity to mean that that was that interaction that they were doing with that child, when really what it was that symbol had become their symbol for them. And so then that gets a little bit confusing, because let's say they used a foam block, a small piece of foam that they had labeled that said PT on it. The physical therapist was thinking to the child that meant we're going to go do physical therapy. The problem with that is what they were doing during PT time wasn't always consistent, and the environment in which they provided physical therapy services wasn't always the same. Sometimes they would take them to their little PT room. Sometimes they would do it in the home. Sometimes it would change. And so what would end up happening is then when that new team was thinking they were doing the child a favor by using that same representational object to equal physical therapy, it was creating frustration on the part of the child, because the child had associated that object with meaning, oh, it's Barb that's coming to get me to interact with me. And so when teams are picking and selecting representational objects to be transitions and routines, you should do it for routines that are really consistent. Things like bathing and things like that have eating, feeding, toileting, whatever it is, those things that remain consistent in a child's day. And then each provider or family member that works with the child needs a different representation for who they are, to keep the difference between this is an actual activity that I'm going to do, and this is the person with whom I'm going to be doing the activity.
Okay, all right. So it's important to remember that you need a symbol, we need more than one symbol, a symbol that represents the person and a symbol that represents the activity.
Yes.
And ways to make sure that the child has time to learn that, and that people use that consistently and reinforce that and help the child make the distinction between the person and the activity.
Yes.
Okay.
Very much.
All right. Okay.